So, you want to know how I ended up losing everything over one stupid comment? That's the thing about life. You never see the disasters coming until they're steamrolling right over you. I'm Vanessa, 32, and 6 months ago, I had everything: a gorgeous house, designer clothes, and weekend getaways whenever I wanted them. Now I'm crashing on my sister's couch and working double shifts just to afford ramen noodles, all because my husband couldn't take a joke and completely overreacted to something every woman says about her man at some point. Ryan and I had been together for 6 years, married for 4. He's not exactly what you'd call eye candy, kind of average height, starting to thin on top, and still carrying his college beer weight around the middle. But the man is a genius with sound, like literally a genius. He's this big shot acoustic consultant who designs sound environments for fancy recording studios and concert halls. Major musicians and production companies fly him all over the country because apparently his ears are worth thousands of dollars an hour or something. Not going to lie, it never made sense to me. I mean, he spends days obsessing over how sound bounces off walls. Who cares? But it paid for our 5 bedroom house in the nice part of town and my Lexus, so I wasn't complaining. My job at Shimmer Boutique was more for something to do than actual income. 20 hours a week, selling overpriced clothes to women trying to look younger than they are, hardly competes with what Ryan brought home. He never made me feel bad about it, though, always said he was happy to provide for us, and I was happy to let him. That's how marriage works, right? One person brings home the bacon, the other one I don't know, makes the house look good, and trust me, I made our house look amazing. My Instagram posts of our living room got shared by 3 different home decor accounts. That that fateful weekend, Ryan was supposed to be in Nashville until Sunday, working on some country music star's home studio. I decided it was the perfect time to have my girls over. Mackenzie, Jordan, and Tiffany hadn't been to the house in ages, and we were way overdue for some wine and real talk. The kind of honest conversation you can only have when there are no men around to get their feelings hurt over the truth. I spent all day getting ready, ordered fancy cheese platters, chilled, expensive rosé that Ryan had been saving for some special occasion, and set up the perfect lighting for my living room. The girls arrived around 7, and we were having the best time. 3 bottles in, we started playing this game where we rated our men on the typical 1 to 10 scale, but with commentary. Jordan's new CrossFit boyfriend got an 8. Amazing body, but talks about protein too much. Mackenzie gave her husband a 7. Dad bod, but still cute and great with the kids. When it came to my turn, I was just being honest. That's all. Just being honest. Ryan's like a 5. Maybe a 5.5 on a good day, I remember saying. Refilling my glass while the girls giggled, but he pays for everything so I can live with it. I might have gone on a little, talking about how boring he can be at parties, always cornering people to talk about the acoustic properties of whatever room they're in, or how his idea of romance is explaining the sound engineering behind our favorite songs. I was just venting. Everyone needs to vent sometimes. How was I supposed to know he had caught an earlier flight? That his Nashville client had a family emergency canceling their weekend session? That he had come home, heard water running, and assumed I was in the shower, so he quietly went upstairs to surprise me? And most importantly, how was I supposed to know that the central air vent in our living room connected directly to the master bathroom, in a way that carried every single word up to him with perfect clarity? The irony doesn't escape me. The man literally designed sound environments for a living, and it was sound that destroyed our marriage. I didn't even realize he was home until my friends left around midnight. I was cleaning up, feeling good from the wine and the girl talk, when I turned around and nearly jumped out of my skin. Ryan was just standing there in the kitchen doorway, still in his travel clothes, with an expression I'd never seen before. It wasn't anger. I almost wish it had been anger. It was this terrible, quiet hurt, like I'd physically wounded him. And that's when I knew he'd heard everything, every single word. "Did you have a good time?" he asked, his voice eerily calm. I tried to play it cool, like my heart wasn't about to pound out my chest. "Yeah, just a girls' night. When did you get back? Thought you were in Nashville until Sunday. Client had an emergency, session did." His answers were were clipped, each word precise. I got home around 9. 9! That would have been right when we were deep into our rating game, right when I was mid-rant about his receding hairline and dad bod, right when I'd laughed about how I'd settled for stability over passion. Did you hear from the bathroom? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry despite all the wine. Every word. His eyes were fixed on me, searching for something. Remorse, maybe, especially the part about me being a 5 who pays for everything. I tried to laugh it off. Oh my God, Ryan. It was just stupid girl talk. You know how it is when we get together. We exaggerate everything for laughs. Do I look like I'm laughing, Vanessa? I switched tactics, going on offense. Were you spying on me? That's really creepy, you know? Spying? He looked genuinely confused. I came home to my house and took a shower. The vent system I installed myself carried your voice upstairs. The one you told me was unnecessary and pretentious when I explained how it would enhance sound circulation throughout the house. I felt trapped. My fuzzy wine brain was scrambling for a way out of this. You're overreacting. Everyone talks about their partners with their friends. It doesn't mean anything. Ryan's face hardened. Did you mean it? Am I really just an ATM with a pulse to you? Of course not. I love you. I stepped toward him, but he backed away. That's not what you said to your friends. You said, and I quote, sure, his job is boring as watching paint dry, but the direct deposits are regular, so I make it work. I felt a flash of anger. Why was he making such a big deal out of this? It was a joke, Ryan. Joke. Learn to take one. Jokes are supposed to be funny. He rubbed his temple. You know what's not funny? Realizing your wife of 4 years sees you as nothing but a meal ticket. I tried to touch his arm, but he shrugged me off. You're being ridiculous. I married you because I love you. No, Vanessa. Tonight made it crystal clear. You married me because I make good money. There's a difference. He turned and walked out of the kitchen. Where are you going? I called after him. Guest room. I can't look at you right now. I went to bed alone that night, annoyed that he was being so sensitive. By morning, he'd realize he was overreacting, and things would go back to normal. Men always got upset over nothing, then forgot about it after a good night's sleep. This would blow over by breakfast. But when I woke up the next morning, Ryan had already left for work. No note, no text. I figured he was still sulking and needed space, so I went about my day. When he didn't come home for dinner, I started feeling uneasy. I texted him. Nothing. Called. Straight to voicemail. By the third day of this treatment, I was furious. He was punishing me with silence over one stupid comment. On day 4, he finally came home, but the Ryan who walked through our door wasn't the same man I'd married. There was a coldness to him I'd never seen before. He went straight to his home office without a word to me. I followed him, ready for a fight. So this is your mature response? Silent treatment for almost a week? Ryan looked up from his laptop with dead eyes. I've been staying at a hotel while I figured out what to do. I've made my decision. Something in his tone made my stomach drop. What are you talking about? I've spent the past few days reviewing our life together. Vanessa. The patterns were always there, but I chose to ignore them. How you light up when I buy you things, but zone out when I talk about my work. How you introduce me to people by what I do, never who I am. How you're affectionate after I give you your monthly spending money, but suddenly too tired when I need emotional support. That's not fair, I protested. I hired a lawyer yesterday, he continued as if I hadn't spoken. I'm filing for divorce. I felt like someone had thrown ice water in my face. Divorce? Over one stupid girl's night comment? Are you insane? It wasn't one comment. It was the truth finally coming out. He stood up. I've transferred your portion of our joint account to a new account in your name. It should be enough to get you set up somewhere else. Set up somewhere else? This is my house, too. Actually, it's not. The house is in my name. You insisted on keeping it that way, remember? You said you didn't want to be responsible for the mortgage if things went south. Your words. I had said that back when we bought the place. I thought I was being smart, protecting myself, never imagined it would backfire. You have 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live, he said, his voice flat. I'll be staying at the hotel until then. As he walked past me, I grabbed his arm. Ryan, please, this is crazy. We can work this out. For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of the old Ryan, the one who could never say no to me, but then his expression hardened again. There's nothing to work out. You showed me who you really are, and I believe you. After he left, I sat in his office for hours trying to process what had just happened. How had a few careless words spiraled into this? I called Mackenzie, sobbing into the phone. He's divorcing me over what we said during girls' night. There was an uncomfortable pause before she replied. Vanessa, you said some pretty harsh things. Things no one should say about someone they love. So you're taking his side? I couldn't believe it. I'm not taking sides, but maybe you should think about how he feels. I hung up on her. Some friend she was. I called Jordan next, then Tiffany. Both conversations went similarly. Apparently, everyone thought I was the villain in this story. Fine, if Ryan wanted to blow up our marriage over this, I'd make him regret it. I'd fight for every penny in the divorce, see how he liked that. But first, I needed to secure my lifestyle. I went to our safe where we kept emergency cash and our important documents. It was empty. My heart raced as I checked our joint accounts online. All emptied, except for the new account Ryan mentioned, which had exactly 3 months' worth of my usual spending money. Not nearly enough to hire the shark lawyer I'd need to take him for everything he was worth. I was trapped. The next day, I received official divorce papers. No-fault divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. He was offering no spousal support beyond the 3 months' expenses. His lawyer's letter explained that given the short duration of our marriage and my employable status, the court would likely not award long-term alimony. The prenup I'd breezily signed, thinking it protected my future inheritance from my parents, not realizing it also limited what I could claim of his assets, was included as an attachment. It was really happening, and I had no way to stop it. I tried everything over the next 2 weeks. I cooked his favorite meals, bought new lingerie, left tearful voicemails, wrote a letter apologizing for hurting his feelings, though I still thought he was overreacting. Nothing worked. Ryan had simply checked out. The few times he came to the house to collect things, he looked through me like I was a ghost. The prenup gave me no claim to his business, his retirement accounts, or the house. Everything I'd grown accustomed to was slipping through my fingers, all because of one stupid girls' night. 14 days after he dropped the divorce bomb, my time was up. I'd found a tiny one-bedroom apartment that I could barely afford on my boutique salary. My parents refused to help, saying it was time I learned some responsibility. My friends offered sympathy, but not much else. The day I moved out, Ryan finally spoke directly to me. I've had all the locks changed, he said, watching from the doorway as I carried out my last suitcase. The security code has been updated too. I looked back at our beautiful house, the custom kitchen I'd helped design, the backyard where we talked about someday building a pool, the entryway where he carried me over the threshold 4 years ago. This is insane, I said, tears welling up. You're throwing away our marriage over something so small. Ryan shook his head. No, Vanessa, you threw it away. I'm just accepting it. As I drove to my new apartment, a depressing little box with thin walls and noisy neighbors, reality finally hit me. I had lost everything because I couldn't keep my mouth shut, because I'd taken for granted the comfortable life Ryan provided, because I'd forgotten the first rule of having a sugar daddy. Never let him know that's how you see him. My new place was a nightmare compared to the sound-perfect environment Ryan had created in our home. The neighbors fought constantly, their voices cutting through the paper-thin walls with painful clarity. The pipes clanged, the refrigerator hummed at an irritating frequency, and worst of all, there was this constant bass thump from the apartment above that made it impossible to sleep. Sound pollution, I muttered to myself one night, remembering how Ryan would have identified and fixed each acoustic issue with excitement. I'd always rolled my eyes at his passionate explanations. Now, I would have given anything for his expertise. My first month's rent nearly wiped out my remaining funds. I had to increase my hours at the boutique, but it wasn't enough. I started driving for a rideshare company on weekends, coming home exhausted to my noisy apartment, too tired even to cry. I kept tabs on Ryan through social media. His business was booming. He'd landed a contract designing the acoustics for a major symphony hall, the kind of project he'd always dreamed about. There were photos of him at industry events looking happier than I'd ever seen him, and thinner, definitely thinner. 3 months after moving out, I hit rock bottom. My car, the Lexus Ryan had bought me for our anniversary, was repossessed when I couldn't make the payments. My credit cards were maxed out. I couldn't afford both rent and food, so I swallowed my pride and moved in with my sister, sleeping on her couch and helping with her kids to earn my keep. That's when I saw it. A photo on Instagram of Ryan with a woman named Elise. She was nothing special looks wise, kind of plain actually, with glasses and curly hair, but the caption gutted me. With this amazing man at the Wagner Hall opening, so proud of your incredible acoustic design that's being called revolutionary by the press. Proud girlfriend. Acoustic-genius. She was proud of him, actually proud of his work, not just what it could buy her, and the way he was looking at her. He had never looked at me like that. I closed the app and threw my phone across the room, narrowly missing my nephew's fish tank. My sister came in, surveyed the scene, and sat down beside me with a sigh. "Are you going to admit that you messed up?" she asked. "I didn't deserve this," I insisted. "One comment shouldn't erase 6 years together." It wasn't just one comment, though, was it? It was what that comment revealed. She gave me that big sister look that always made me feel small. "You never appreciated him, Vanessa. Not really." I wanted to argue, but the fight had gone out of me. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd taken Ryan for granted, but didn't everyone do that in relationships sometimes? Did I really deserve to lose everything over it? As I look back now, crammed on this lumpy couch with my sister's cat that I'm allergic to, I still don't think the punishment fit the crime. Yes, I said some things I shouldn't have. Yes, maybe I was more in love with Ryan's provider abilities than with Ryan himself. But he could have talked to me about it instead of pulling the rug out from under my entire life. The worst part is, sometimes late at night, I catch myself missing him. Not the things he bought me or the lifestyle he provided, but him. The way he'd get excited about the acoustics in a restaurant, how he'd create these sound experiences in our home theater for date nights, the way he'd hold me when I had a bad day. But then, I remember how easily he discarded me, how cold he was at the end, and the hurt hardens back into resentment. I'm the victim here. I'm the one sleeping on a couch while he's dating someone new and living his best life in our beautiful, sound-perfect home. One stupid comment, and now I'm homeless. If that's not an overreaction, I don't know what is. Yet, sometimes in my most honest moments, a tiny voice whispers that maybe, just maybe, I got exactly what I deserved. But I quickly silence it. That voice sounds too much like Ryan's. If this confession kept you hooked, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We share powerful true stories every day that explore the complex realities of life.